Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Rock Your Reinvention, the show that gives you all the tips and tools you need in 30 minutes or less to rock your own reinvention. And I'm so excited today for two reasons. One, I am exactly a month post-op from having shoulder surgery, so I've still got my sling on there. You can see it's not super fashionable, but whatevs. But I'm just glad to be back doing Rock Your Reinvention again. And I'm doubly excited because we have the amazing Rachel Lavin with us today. Yay!
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here with your brilliant and vibrant self. And I'm so excited to dig into your story because your self-love journey and all the things that you've been through and how you've really reinvented your career also. I think it's really going to speak volumes to so many people. For those of you that are watching, you don't have to wait to the end to do Q&A. So if you have questions throughout, don't hesitate to drop them in the chat. We'll answer them as we go and just try to make this as fun and interactive for everyone as possible. So before we jump in and we get to hear all the goodness, why don't you just give us a little intro? Tell us who you are, what you do, and anything else you'd like us to know.
Well, thank you. Well, like you mentioned, my name is Rachel Lavin. I have been living here in Greenville, South Carolina for about a year, and that's how we met.
Yes.
I have been in the fitness and wellness space for over 20 years. I started off as a group exercise instructor, which I don't really get to talk about that much anymore because it was so long ago. Morphed into a personal trainer, a health coach. And then I decided to write my book. And so now I can add author and body love educator to my moniker. And I am really focusing on that. Although fitness will never exit my life for the rest of my life, I am just taking a different turn and focusing more on getting my message in my book, which I know we'll talk about in a little bit, out into the world.
I love that. And it's so funny that you mentioned like how we met, because I just think the universe always has this way of bringing together people that you need in your life at different stages. And so you actually reached out to Junior League, which is an organization that I am part of about speaking. And because you and I connected on that, I was like, wait a second. I was like, I need to have you on my show. I'm like, you need to be on Rock Your Reinvention. So, it was helping me get a guest, but it was also helping you get your message out. And so it's just amazing how these things, the universe will just line them up for you when you're clear about your intention and what you want to do. So kudos to you for having that vision of speaking and knowing that you wanted to get this message out there. And it just helped us connect those dots.
Yes, thank you.
You never know where it's coming from. I love what
you said about being clear, because my book has been out actually for over 2 years. And for that first year, I was like, well, what do I do with it now?
Right.
And, I always believe what you said, the universe gives you signs. And coming here to Greenville has been such a special thing, because it's helped me not only get clear, but it's helped me connect with women like you and other amazing women's organizations here locally. Yeah. And I just couldn't be more grateful for that.
That's awesome. So take me way back. Like, when was that moment that you were like, I know I need to reinvent my life? Like, something isn't working for me. Something has to change. Like, what was going on for you? What were you feeling? What did that look like?
I've had few of those moments throughout my life, but It never really stuck. The one time in my life where it was like so loud that I just couldn't ignore it anymore was on right the day after my 40th birthday. And I just had this really life-changing experience where, the old me and the me who was just always in there trying to get out, but was still developing and learning about herself, they finally meshed. And I think that with all my life experience comes who I am now. But the person who I am now is kinder, is more patient, not only to myself, but to other human beings. And I just feel a sense of calm and a sense of peace that for so many years, I didn't have that in my life. So I would say my 40th birthday, which was 11 years ago, was a pivotal moment for me. And I talk about that a lot because it was just so amazing and I'll never forget it.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. I don't know because my 40th was kind of it was part of the pivotal point, but it was mine was a little bit more triggered because we had some deaths in the family, and I started going like, "Oh my God, my mortality! Like I'm not going to be here forever. Oh crap!" But it was so interesting because the week of my 40th birthday, we were away and in Cape Cod. I had just been laid off, and I was like, "I need a separation from the old me and this new Karen that I'm yet to create." And while I was on that vacation, I actually spoke with a woman who helped other women create their coaching businesses. And I'm like, we're going to work together somehow, but I don't know how yet. And she ended up becoming my first business coach. So again, amazing how the universe does all this. But yeah, there's something at 40 that just kind of gets triggered, I think, for a lot of women. And we go like, oh shit. Like, what am I doing with my life? What's going on here? And you start to ask those really deep questions. So that was 40, 11 years ago, but we're not talking about that.
No, we can.
But your book, The Doughnut Diaries, has been out for 2 years.
Yeah.
So what was it that prompted you to finally write this book and share your story?
Well, going back to equating it with how the universe just presents the right time at the right blah, 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 blah. It was COVID. I was sitting in my New York apartment. My boyfriend and I were like, what are we going to do? This is crazy. We have all this time on our hands. And so a conversation with another one of my female peers ensued. And we started talking about my story and my journey. And she's like, you should write a book. And I said, if I was comfortable knowing where a period goes or a semicolon goes, or how to start a paragraph, I'd be all about that. And she laughed and she said, well, my client just went through this publisher where you actually speak your story into the phone, somebody transcribes it, and then you get a manuscript. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was such a thing.
Right.
So again, no roadblocks, none of that negativity. I just reached out to her. She put me in touch with the publisher. We had a beautiful conversation. And next thing you know, I mean, I'm serious. Within weeks, I was starting my process with them. And it took about a year from start to finish to get my book from, my thoughts in my head to an actual live book.
Yeah.
But the process was really, really exciting. It was a beautiful experience. I will say though, that when my first initial manuscript came my way and I read it, I said, it's missing a little part of my story, or it's missing a little something. So I decided to take it into my own hands because they had created such a beautiful foundation for me. And I rewrote it to kind of make sure that I was putting the book that I wanted to put out in the world world. And that was great. I was allowed that freedom and it worked out perfectly. And I'm very happy and proud with what came out.
And good for you for having that intuition and trusting yourself. Because I think sometimes we get into these situations with like experts and, oh, you're the publisher, you know what you should be doing. But then really trusting yourself and listening to that inner voice to go, you know what, this is a good start. Right. Mm-hmm. And by the way, for any of you that are thinking about writing a book, your first draft will be crap. I mean, like it's bad. Mine was garbage. I could not even have published it. Right now, it's an award winner, and I'm sure your book will be as well. Well, if it isn't already. You put your story out there and you get someone else to get some eyes on it, you zhuzh it up a little bit, and next thing you know, it becomes this beautiful work of art and this human experience. And it's such a beautiful thing. So, I know it shares a little bit about your story, some of the challenges that you've been through with yo-yo dieting and learning to accept your body. So I'm sure it wasn't an easy journey to go through, but how amazing that now other women can take from your experience and maybe learn to love their bodies a little bit and treat it a little bit different.
That's the hope. I mean, my message, and I say it throughout the book and I say it all the time, I want all women to know that they are not alone. Because I know for me, most of my life with all the things that you just described, I felt like I have to be the only one who feels this way. I'm the only one who doesn't have the right body. I'm the only, So I feel alone a lot. And I just wanted to make sure that all women of all ages knew that they were not alone.
Yeah, the Doughnut Diaries, everyone. We'll tell you later where you can get it, but definitely go check that out because I think it's such a powerful story. And it's so interesting when you don't have a background in writing. I mean, I didn't either when I published my book. So it's like it can be very intimidating, very scary. And I remember the first time I kind of used the title author and I called myself an author, like it was scary because I hadn't actually made money from it yet. And I was like, can I say that? Maybe I'm just a writer. And so how did you adopt the title author? Was that easy? Was it difficult? How did that work for you?
Well, for me, I know that the more that I speak clearly, like you just said in the beginning of our talk today, about what I want and how I want to be seen, that I just started using that word right away. And I felt super comfortable with it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I am an author. And I've stood by that this whole time. I mean, it's true. I am. I wrote a book, so I am an author.
Wow. That's awesome. And I hope everybody out there that's listening, like maybe there's a title that you've been wanting to pick up or take on or adopt. And I would just encourage you, when you wake up in the morning, just say it in the mirror, like look at yourself and be like, I am a whatever. Maybe you want to be a singer. Maybe you want to be a CEO. Maybe you, whatever it is, right? Just look in the mirror and say that you are that thing. And I'm telling you, next thing you know, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I really am, and you just adopt it. So speak it into existence.
Yes, for sure.
So really important. Why do you think that so many of us women have such a negative view of our body that we go through these crazy yo-yo diets? I mean, I took Dexatrim in high school. Okay. I graduated high school at 97 pounds and I said I had thunder thighs. Okay. So talk about body images. Like, what I saw in the mirror was not what other people would say they saw in me. So what do you think it is that give us these negative messages?
Oh my God, that could take forever. Just
You're like, we don't have enough time in this interview for that.
But it comes from the people we are surrounded with. I mean, did your mom talk about her body in a negative way? Did your sisters talk? I mean, it's what you hear.
Yeah.
I mean, even at a very young age, I remember diet commercials for diet plans, diet this. It was always in your face. It still is. It still is. But we as women, we grow up that way. We always hear men talking about our bodies, whether it's the shape or so it is something that we do not escape from the time that we are aware of our bodies until we decide enough is enough, that my body is my body and it's not open for discussion. I think that it just becomes something that we have to navigate. So my message is, yes, it's going to be there until me and an amazing panel of women can dismantle the diet culture and the diet industry. It's going to be there. So how are you going to approach it? Are you going to approach it with blinders on? Are you going to approach it with, they're speaking to me? Or am I just going to let it be a thing in the world and I'm going to go live my happy life?
Right.
So these are choices that I think women are finally able to start making for themselves.
Oh, I love that, choices, because I do think we always have a choice, right? We have a choice when we have a comment made to us or we hear something to say, am I going to implant that? Is that something I'm going to keep in the garden of my mind? Or am I going to pluck that little weed out and be like, goodbye? I don't choose to believe that anymore. So that's it. That's a very empowering thing because it's one of the few things that we can control, right? I can't control all men and what they say about women's bodies, right? I can, what I call vote with my wallet. Like I don't watch shows like The Bachelorette and things where we're vying over a woman and we are specifically, looking at somebody based on their appearance. I don't watch beauty pageants, and that's not to say you can't, but it's just one of those things that I've consciously made a choice to say, I'm not going to support something that I don't think resonates with me and empowers women to love their true self. And I don't know that we always think about it that way. We're like, well, that's my guilty pleasure. Oh, but I really love that thing. And it's like, okay, but then you can't complain about these stereotypes or these things in the market because you're supporting that. You're actually telling these companies, I want more of that.
I agree with you in the logical sense, but I think there's such a disconnect in associating us and what we're seeing. So that's what I'm hoping to kind of put more of a connection, more to align, like you just said, what we're seeing, what we're choosing to put into our brains on a daily basis is affecting how we see ourselves. So I think you said it very well.
Oh, thank you. And I like that perspective that you added onto that too. Because there is, I think, a disconnect in so many ways with, we say one thing and then we do something else. And so that can be such a beautiful thing about coaching, whether it's body coaching or life coaching, is we start to bring our values and our actions into alignment so that we don't have this like incongruence with our lives. And when it's all brought into harmony, right, you just have such a different experience and a different joy in your everyday life. It's really powerful.
It is really powerful. It is. You're right.
Yeah. So this body self-love, right? You're helping women to really accept themselves for who they are. Now, does that also incorporate like health goals though, and figuring out like, okay, yeah, we don't need to be this stick twig or this image, but what is your version of healthy?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. My whole life, even though I struggled with my ups and downs and my weight, I've always been an active person. So I love to say movement is magic because it really is. It is something that our bodies are born to do. We are born to move. That's why we have muscle and bone and and hands and feet, because our bodies need to move. But what I am less of a stickler about, even though there is like the sciencey part, strength training obviously increases this. We don't have to get into that today. But I want people to feel safe to move in their own way. Mm-hmm. And whatever that means for you. So there's so many ways to move. And I encourage people to find their happy place, because I think that so many people, in just my experience of talking with clients and women in general, oh, I hate to exercise. Yeah. Well, why? Let's figure that out, because I'm sure they had a very negative experience in a gym with a man. And so it's like that tainted them. So it's like, let's kind of get to the emotional bottom of why you feel that way, because there's got to be something that feels good to you. You don't just hate exercise. So I'm trying to get people to maybe open their mind a little bit, because if you tell yourself something over and over and over again, it does become your truth. And that can be positively, or it can unfortunately be a negative thing too.
Yeah. Well, funny story, and maybe not really funny now that I like say that out loud, but when I was getting ready for my wedding, they had ordered the wrong size dress. They got a size too small or too big. And then I was like, no, I think I need the smaller size. She's like, I don't think you're going to fit in that. I was like, I will work my butt off and I will make sure I fit in this size. So just order the one that I'm telling you to order and like, we'll be done here. So I went to a gym in New York City, and it was like not a gym that you would know the name of. It was just like a random gym. And I got a male personal trainer, and he was really funny. He was like an Italian guy. He'd be like, come on, baby, one more, baby, you got it. But he wasn't the problem. This other guy at the gym that would like check me out every time I'm going in to work out eventually approached me on the treadmill and was like, hey, just give me one night, just one night. That's all. I'm just telling you, you'll never go back to your man. And I'm thinking, oh, have I heard that before? But please. But it was just the audacity and the balls on this guy to think that I'm going to throw away my fiance and my like 8-year relationship for one night with this stallion, please. Like, who probably would have been done in 2 minutes and we would have been snoozing. But anyway, we won't go there. That's for another conversation. But, it's no wonder women don't want to go to the gym and work out, because they don't want to have that experience. But there's ballroom dancing, there's hiking, there's like, yoga. I mean, there's so many things that your workout can be movement. I love that. I hope we're like helping some people shift their mindset a little bit about what this has to look like, because movement can be anything.
But I also think too, and I'm sure you'll agree with me, Karen, like that experience that you had has happened to all of us, right?
Right.
Gross. But
I know.
I think the more that you love yourself and that confidence, that self-confidence, I'm sure, right, if that were to happen to you now, you would shut that down so fast. You'd be like, hate it, So I do believe that it's more than just feeling comfortable in a gym. I think it's gaining more self-confidence, more self-acceptance. Finding our language that men, I think, have gotten a little bit better.
Yes.
In the years, but back then, like you're talking about, it was just rampant. But I think that more women are much more confident in their womanhood now, and they would be able to just be like, you need to leave me alone. Or
Yeah.
maybe not so nicely.
Right. And I think there are a lot of men champions out there who, if they had overheard that now, I think would chime in and be like, dude, what was wrong with you? You know? So it's good. We're getting there. And for those of us with boys and young sons, we're constantly drilling this kind of stuff into their head, you know, so that they can grow up to be the men that we want them to be.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get back to this because I have a couple more questions for you. Everybody that's watching, feel free to chime in with your questions. And even if you're catching the replay, like, don't hesitate to drop a question and me and Rachel will come back and be sure to answer and talk about it. But I think it's hard to reinvent your life when you have this aspect of maybe dislike or self-hatred, even in some cases, for people's bodies, and you haven't learned to embrace your whole self. So what are one or two things that you do with your clients, give us your best tips, to really help them accept their whole self and love their bodies?
I definitely give them the space to feel their feelings, because I know that that shift in their mindset does not happen overnight.
Right.
So if they do slip and say something derogatory about themselves, I do my best to self-correct that in an empathetic way. So I know a lot of people say to me, I feel like I can't talk to you anymore about my body because you're going to jump all over me. And I say, you know what? I'm still learning how to approach this in the world too. You can always be honest about how you feel, but you're not helping yourself if you're just going to sit there and list the things that are wrong with your body.
Right.
So let's not talk that way about your body, because I'm quoting Whitney Cummings. I love when she says facts are not feelings, because it's true. You're feeling this way and it's very real at that moment. But when you say I have thunder thighs or I have this, it's not true.
Right.
So let's differentiate the truth from how you feel. And that helps people. I feel like that helps get them, oh, yeah, you're right. I feel this way because I just spent a weekend in Miami drinking and eating nachos, you know what I mean? So it's, so I'm doing my best because I'm still learning. I'm really still learning how to approach this with women, because it's an emotional thing. So I'm coming from so I would say that's how I treat my clients.
Yeah. And I think that that's really important because most of us, that's all we want, is to feel seen and heard. You know, I think I just did a video on this, but like one of my clients came to me and she started sharing out her big dream for her life. And it was like 5 things, and they were big things, but I was like, she's like, everyone keeps telling me it's too big. And I'm like, no, it's not too big. I'm like, you can absolutely achieve this. And she was just like, started to tear up, and she's like, I feel so seen and heard, you know, like, wow, no one's ever validated it before in this way. And it really just speaks to like our own limit. Like we limit ourselves, or we let one person's comment then become the fact and not actually be the truth. So it's really powerful. And, you know, we can all use that empathy and a safe space to show up and authentically be yourself.
Yes.
All right. Well, I know that this comes with some fear because, you know, like every single woman I talk to, no matter how confident they are, there is always this one little fear or one little thing that's kind of going on in the back of their head. So when you were embarking on this, you know, body love coach and writing your book, like, were there any fears that came up for you? And if so, what was it and how did you overcome it?
Absolutely. Of course, the fear that no one was going to read my book, that my message wasn't going to resonate with people. And now that I'm shifting my business to more of a wellness coach and a body love educator, which I just totally self-coined myself. It's not a real thing.
It is a real thing. It is now.
There you go. I love the way it sounds, because I'm educating you on how to love your body, as opposed to just like, you know, don't feel this way or whatever. But I do every once in a while, like, am I doing the right thing? Are people going to believe me? Are they going to trust me? So I just have to keep aligning myself with, you know, strong, amazing women like you who want to see me succeed and who are really going to keep telling me when I need to be told, yes, your message is what was needed, keep going. And I also have to be able to tell myself that and believe it. So I think it's a culmination of having the right support system, but also believing in myself, even when I do have those momentary feelings of, is this really a thing? Do I need to go get a job? What do I do? So
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I feel that fear sometimes.
Oh, and it's so normal. I was a part of a mastermind group not that long ago. And like every one of us, I mean, we're all like high achieving coaches. We were like, oh yeah, I thought about burning my business down last week, or like, I'm just gonna like throw in the towel. Like, what the frig am I doing? Right. And you have those moments. It's so normal, but it's always going back to that why, right? And why did I start this business? Why did I write the Doughnut Diaries? And you go back to that mission of helping other women not feel alone. And it's like, my gosh, I can't walk away from this. Like, no, let's keep going. Let's keep pushing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you have that support network, because we all need that little lift from time to time, or someone else to be like, no, I believe in you. Like, I'm going to read your book. I want to read your book, and you're like, oh, my message is valuable. It does have a place in the world. And that's so, so amazing. So,
yeah.
And I'm sure some of those fears, like no one's going to read my book. I mean, how many books, do you know how many you've sold, or like how many, I mean, obviously you've done events and sold books at events and had signings. I've seen all the posts, but I mean, so it's not right. Like,
yeah,
people read the book, like it's a fear, but it's not a real fear, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. But also too, I think if you really, what if no one did, what if one person read my book and I helped them? Like, that was even more than I could have ever imagined. So, I mean, luckily that's not the case, but I have to think in those terms, because I am not really, listen, this for sure. Your book is never, you're not going to be like a rich person off your book. It's like the most expensive business card you've ever created. Yeah. But what is important is this, like what we're doing today, like you're putting my message out in the world for me, and we're talking to each other about it. And hopefully people are watching and listening. That's where the value comes from my book. And I'm sure you agree about yours too.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Show us the book. Do you have it right there? I want everyone to see your beautiful cover. That is such a pretty cover.
Isn't it adorable? I love it so much. I love it. And I love this donut with like the bite taken out and the crumbs.
Oh, I don't think I noticed that before. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, did you design it yourself, or did you have a designer?
Well, no, my publisher, they designed the cover. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is almost it. But then I added the bite with the crumbs. So I can take credit for that.
I love it. But it's so awesome when you get somebody who just like understands your message and they can see the vision and bring it into a cover. And yeah, the cover design is one of my favorite parts of writing a book, and like seeing that vision come to life. It's just so thrilling. So I hope any of you watching that have had thoughts about writing a book will take Rachel's advice and just go for it. Just do it, make it happen. And who cares? If one person reads it, it changes their life, it was totally worth it. Mm-hmm. Totally worth it. Mm-hmm. All right. I know we're running up on time. I could talk to you all day because this is super fun. And you have so many amazing truth bombs and good messages to share. But let's round it out with, if you could say one thing to the women watching who are like, I know I'm ready for a reinvention. Like, I want to change my life, but I don't know how to get started. What would you tell them?
I would say that it's really important to get clear on your message. What is it you want to see at the end of your journey? And then be patient enough to go back to the beginning. Because like I said to you in the beginning of our talk, all of us are traumatized in some way, shape, or form. And it shaped who we are and how we treat ourselves. And if you can go back and deal with that and clean that up, there's nothing that can stop you. Nothing that can get in your way of becoming the person you were always meant to be. But you can't drag your past into your future with you. And I truly believe that if I didn't kind of sit with my feelings of why do I feel this way about my body? Why? I don't think I could be here today.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I'm sure there's someone who's watching that needed to hear that. And we got a little message here. Sorry, I didn't see it sooner. But ditto, cover design is so special. So yes, we've got some other fellow authors on here, which is awesome and exciting.
No,
So if anyone has questions before we wrap up, go ahead and pop them in the chat. I'm keeping my eye on it. But Rachel, while I wait for some questions to come in, why don't you let us know where people can find you, your book, your social handles, all that good stuff, so people can get connected with you?
Okay, well, thank you for this chance. I
Yeah.
just rebranded myself early this month. So I was under Rachel Lavin Fitness for many, many years, which was a very valuable, but now I'm Rachel Lavin Wellness. I know, big change, but I just felt like wellness was more who I am now. So Rachel Lavin Wellness on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And then my website is also Rachel Lavin Fitness, and my book is available on Amazon.
Yes, go get it, everyone. And like we said, self-publishing is not like a money maker. We get very little, but honestly, every little sale helps. So don't borrow a book from a friend. Like, please just go spend the $8 or whatever it is, or get the ebook and support us, because we really, it makes a big difference, and it helps with the Amazon numbers too. When you get a couple of sales, it makes a really big difference in your rankings. So
yeah, I was actually going to ask you.
Yeah.
I wanted to do an ask for reviews, and you had something posted not too long ago that was just so sweet and nice, but it made people realize it's like, oh, I got to go leave a review.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you have read my book, please review it.
Yes, that is like the biggest free way that you can support an author. And it literally takes like 2 minutes, like it's 2 seconds. Click the link, write a review. It doesn't have to be crazy long. Give like something specific or how it changed your life. And then bam, like that is so, so helpful.
Yes, it is.
Yes, amen. Reviews mean the world. So true. So true. I love it. Thanks for the interaction. I love when we get pop-up things and I can put them up on the screen. It's so fun.
Yes.
All right. Well, I promised 30 minutes or less. We're pretty close to that today. Thank you, Rachel, for being here. You're an absolute delight. Anyone who is looking for support and body love, I highly recommend that they reach out to you and work with you. And for anyone who's looking to rock their reinvention, maybe more in the career aspect or relationships, things like that, definitely let me know. Let's schedule a call and we'll see how we can help you and edit your life. All right. Well, everyone have a great day. And Rachel, we'll talk soon.
Yes. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate it.
Bye, everybody. Oh, you're so welcome. Anytime.